All right, this is Paris. I'm at Gamescom, and yes, I am at the CD Projekt Red private meeting booth room, whatever you want to call this. And
super secret, super tiny, very special interview booth. Yeah.
And I got a chance to see the demo a second time. So you guys already know the video went viral the last time I saw it. Everyone went crazy, but I had to come all the way to Germany because I have to talk about this game. I got to know more about it. So I got someone from CD Projekt Red to talk about it. So can you please introduce yourself?
I'm Richard. Hi guys. I'm Richard Borzymowski, one of the producers at Cyberpunk 2077.
All right. Thank you so much for taking some time to talk to me about this. Now, honestly, I don't even know where to begin because I've seen the demo.
We didn't either when we started.
Yeah, but it's one of those things. There's just so many different things that you can talk about with Cyberpunk. But I kind of think it's fitting to start with Night City itself. The fact that you're creating Night City and you're making this open world, for this game. So kind of go into the thought process of the open world of Night City and just some of the things that people can expect in that world.
All right, sure. So at the very beginning, there was nothing.
Right.
Then it turned out that Mike Pondsmith already had a core book written back in the 80s. So we had a good idea what we want to achieve with Night City. And besides that, we had Mike consulting us. So we always had this backup plan. If we got stuck or something, we could reach out to him and hey, Mike, do you think that this is a good direction? And the thing he told us about Night City and its districts when he was envisioning it in 2020 was that although it's one city, it's Night City, that each district, he basically referred to Disneyland.
Yeah.
And he mentioned if you're walking around Disneyland, you have all those different areas that are all in Disneyland, but they are all looking very differently. So when we were coming up with the districts, we already knew that we want to make them very unique, very distinguished architecture, decorations. And when it comes to the open world part you were asking about, it fits our game that. And what we did is that we introduced characters, obviously, to the districts to make it feel alive. Those characters, those NPCs are very different from district to district. They are dressed differently. They're speaking different languages. They don't have another routine. And our goal really was to make you feel the district itself when you're in it. And have you seen the demo last year? I mean, you've seen the gameplay, which we released after.
Yes, I've seen last year's as well.
So, for instance, last year, the mission we played back then was being played in the North Industrial District. It is a sub-district of Watson, actually the most northern sub-district in the city. And the demo that you saw right now is taking place in Pacifica. So the opposite, south district, and you could clearly see the difference.
Oh no, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. So Pacifica being this big war zone, essentially, abandoned by corporations some years before we started the game. And the gangs took over, violence spread out, and I wanted to say you shouldn't go there by night, but you shouldn't go there by day probably.
Right, yeah, shouldn't go at all.
Yeah,
but it's inhabited by the Voodoo Boys, right?
Well, not only, right?
Right.
They just have their home base over there. The Haitian people, they came over sometime after the corporates left their investments unfinished. And the Voodoo Boys are very interesting, and I like them very much because they are somewhat taking care of the community over there. They are not just exploiting as as another gang. I mean, they are a gang, but they're taking care of their own, essentially.
Yeah, so even just expanding upon that a little bit, one part of the demo is when you walk in, you're walking into that church because you're looking for the person, and one of the Voodoo Boy members is in there, and you said, it wasn't a thing it was this war zone, it was this church, and they're almost in a way protecting the other Haitian people that were there. So the other thing I want to get into is the lack of a class system in Cyberpunk, because that was one of the great that was one of the great things that they were showing in the demo, that you play how you want. You on the fly can change your attributes and do whatever you want to do. So if you want to kind of expand on that a little bit.
So this was one of the basically key design principles we wanted for the game to incorporate, like to give the player freedom, not only in like the dialogues. We had this in The Witcher already, but in The Witcher you had Geralt. Geralt had 2 swords. Well, he could had an axe. My girlfriend is playing with an axe, which is really weird. But here you can create your own character from his looks to his clothing style, but also from the gameplay side you can shape how you want to play the game. And those playstyles we are very often mentioning, like the solo, which is actually split into fast solo and strong solo, the techie and the netrunner, it's not something you pick at one point in the game. We're just calling it that way in order to simplify, to show the people what you're able to. You are able to freely mix those things up. The only thing that is holding you back are your attributes. You need according attributes to use certain skills.
Yep.
And probably your cyberware slots. You can't be like a full-on Terminator and a full-on Netrunner, because in order to be either one of those, you need to use your cyberware slots very wisely. And you only have 2 legs.
Yeah.
There is no augmentation in the game that allows you to have 4 legs, sadly.
So, going along those lines, because one of the, and this kind of just goes into your roots with The Witcher 3 and just being the hundreds of hours I've played in that game. It's the level design that the approach that they showed in the demo, that you can basically approach it any way that you want. There's no one set way to get to the end of your mission. So like we saw the Netrunner V, and then we also saw the melee tank version of V, and you saw 2 completely different ways they were approaching that. So I guess my question on that is, we saw 2 different approaches there, but it's, I don't want to say limitless, but the options, there's just so many different options of the way that you can tackle the levels in Cyberpunk.
Yes, and that's actually just challenging, because there is a lot of work required to first come up with a quest that is like an integral part of the plot that provides you the opportunity to tackle those missions in certain ways. Then those missions should have like outcomes that are different depending on how you approach them. And then after the quest is written, then you actually have to implement it in the game. So the first thing you actually need to do is to come up with we call it level design prototype, which suits firstly suits every role, that makes it possible for you to enter in different ways. But secondly, and this is actually more important, we want to make sure that each way you play is fun. It wouldn't be a solution for us to incorporate some devices for the Netrunner that he could hack, like just without thinking how those devices are tying into the location itself. We really want to ensure that whichever path you take, however you build your character, that you can play this character through all the missions and that you have fun, while there is a third part to it, while still keeping it challenging. And by challenging, I mean something that is not frustrating, but something that is not too simple, right?
So, along those lines, and again, I always keep going back to The Witcher 3 because it's just a game I've played so much.
It's a pretty good game.
Maybe. But part of that game was your choices mattering and the repercussions not being apparent right away. Like, it could be 10, 20 hours later in the game that you find out this choice that you made matters.
You might regret not helping this granny out.
Exactly. So I'm assuming that you're going to expand upon this in Cyberpunk, but to add to that, like just example of some of the NPCs that we saw in this demo, are we going to see those choices again come and matter, but are we going to see NPCs that are exempt from this because they're so integral to the story that they can't be taken out at certain points to where...
Well, especially in those choices that are being presented to the player in the main story path, those choices should be inspected by the players the most, because those might have the biggest repercussions later on. So Placide is a very the relationship with Placide that V forms is pretty complex, because Placide is a complex character in the mission and in the Voodoo Boys structure. He is struggling as well on one end and wants to live up to the hopes of his people, and we as V, we eventually will have to face like how we want to play this out. Like, and here comes the question: will the player think how Placide feels and why does he behave this way. Might this change the decision of the player, or will he just, go with the flow and do whatever he finds suited for himself in the given second,
right,
without looking at the background picture? So absolutely, we want to expand on the choices, on the standard of choices that we provided to the player in The Witcher, in Cyberpunk, because we want to, let me put it in a way, we want to give players meaningful choices.
Yeah.
We don't want to do, choices that in 5 minutes later on come back together. Like, if you are playing a game and then you choose another option and then later see, that actually wasn't really a choice because in the end something else happened and I still had to go with this certain character. By giving people meaningful choices, you get them more immersed into the story because they pay closer attention, because they actually feel like in the real world. If you are making a choice what to do, you know that this is your choice. This will have repercussions, right?
Yeah,
so that
exactly.
You are thinking about certain actions you are taking.
And that's what excites me about the game is I'm envisioning, when we get to April, like you said, we're going to have this big open world of Night City. We're going to be able to play it the way that we want to play it. We're going to be able to explore. There's going to be side quests and things. But even with the core story itself, that, like you said, these choices that you make, they will be impactful in the way that you branch off. Because even just in this demo, we ran into the situation where the agent or whatever, he's basically telling you, the voodoo boys are going to betray you. Yeah. Listen to me and don't do this. But we decided no, we're not going to listen to you. We went with the voodoo boys. I would assume if I then went with what he said, that completely opens up a new branch.
I will leave this open for you to check out April 16th.
Yeah.
Although we will have to play a bit to make it there till April 16th. Yeah. It's somewhat in the middle of the story, so you might not make it in one day.
Right. But one last thing, Johnny Silverhand. So obviously at the E3 reveal, we find out it's Keanu Reeves. Everyone breathtaking. All that stuff happens. But how integral is he to the story? And just to people listening to this, kind of explain what Johnny Silverhand is to V in the game.
First and foremost, Johnny Silverhand is very important in the universe itself. Yeah. So even regardless of the story, he's a very prominent figure. Yeah. It so turns out that in the story, V crosses paths with Johnny, let's put it in that way. And he is a very important part to it, actually. So he has a big impact of how the story progresses, and his relationship with V is forming through a big part of the journey, which just outcome will have consequences again, right?
Yeah. So actually, I lied. I have one last thing. So just Mike Pondsmith. Obviously, this is his world. This is his creation. So to just people that are listening, you worked very closely with him. So like these characters,
still are, absolutely.
These are his creation. Every character, faction, gang that we're seeing, this is coming from his mind and his world.
He is. I mean, he tells us, and he seems very happy, with what we together achieved. I personally remember one thing that he once said when we showed him the first it actually was a draft of Night City back then. Actually, no. It was a first area that got a bit more polished, so there were some colors around. And we were in the meeting room, and Mike said after we stopped presenting, this is how I envisioned Night City all those years, and this was for us this, whoa, this is huge, right? That we got there together. So we are very happy with the cooperation with Mike. He actually is going to be here tomorrow.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's going to be here tomorrow.
Maybe I can meet him.
So, please more.
So that is awesome. And just to wrap this up, again, I knew of Cyberpunk a year ago, but when I saw that demo last year, it just opened my eyes to this world. And I'm like, I'm still ignorant to it because I still don't know everything about it, but it's just this
That's
game.
All right, we'll ease you in.
Yeah, you ease me in. But it has me so excited to learn more about this world and not just, I'm just playing a video game. I feel like you're taking us on this journey and into this world of Night City and these characters that, once I get a chance to play it in April, I mean, I just think you're going to revolutionize what we're seeing with open world RPGs.
I'm very glad. Like this is what we want to achieve. Like we want to tell a great story. Like the Cyberpunk universe, I personally knew it for a bit longer than a year, even before I joined CD Projekt, and it's a very interesting universe. It provides so much opportunities to tell stories, like for the players, even like also in the video game or the pen and paper RPG. It's really another take on the genre.
Fantastic. Well, again, thank you.
Breathtaking.
Your birthday.
It's too often, right?
I know. Everyone says it now. It's too much. But again, thank you so much for taking some time to talk to me.
Thank you for finding time for us.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.